very vibrant in our classrooms.
Absolutely. Naturally, as it says on the slide, it increased the rigor and the relevance, and writing in the content areas was a natural extension to be able to summarize information that they had learned or extend it by learning more about something that had been covered in a social studies or a science text. You know, not to say we weren't diligent and hardworking about teaching language arts and math before, but to embed it inside the social studies and the science has just raised it to a whole new level. We teach it in the morning now. We hit them right away in the morning with science and social studies, which was sort of a revered language arts hour. But it is, and it isn't. I mean, it's a shared hour and a half in the morning. She's in 3rd grade, I'm in 2nd. I know she brought it back to her team. They've embraced it. I mean, it's changed 6 classes in our school in just this year. It's a pretty significant change. Different rooms to different extents, but still, it's been quite a significant change.
And our kids frequently are asking, okay, but when's science? Well, when does science start? And is there an experiment today or is experiment tomorrow? So it's a definite shift in what the time allotted that we were spending on language arts. And I consider it still language arts time, but we're using social studies and science as the content.
And lastly, we just pulled out a couple of textbooks, and we're just pulling out words that the kids would often see either in questions or in content. And this is some pretty heavy vocabulary that 2nd and 3rd graders are thinking about, sounding out, writing about.
And they're very savvy with these words. Adaptation, they kept saying, well, that's just adaptation. That's adaptation. No, that's adaptation. And now they definitely know the difference between adaptation and adaptation. And we have constant discussions through Google, basically looking up what is the difference between a biome and a habitat and an ecosystem and an environment, because we're using these words so frequently that their teacher gets a little bit confused. But it's exciting to watch them embrace what I would consider high-level, challenging vocabulary and things that we addressed before, but we kind of kept it a little bit smaller scale. And to see them really open up to this and be challenged by words like summarize, analyze, infer,
Conglomerate.
conglomerate. And have them feel so comfortable using those words.
And it speaks to the rigor. I mean, you can't read those words as an adult and not feel that it speaks to the rigor. We're talking about 6, 7, 8, sometimes 9-year-olds. So these are really little kids dealing with very big concepts. And anyway, so that's the rigor, the relevance that we brought in. And like I said before, I would jump at the chance. I'll say it again. I will jump at the chance to go to model schools again.
Too.
Really loved it. It was a great experience.
And we're just ending with, we look forward to being able to share the good results. Right now, we're
collecting the data.
rolling it out and having fun with it and enjoying, and we hope to have some fabulous results at the end of the year with our CSTs. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies. I'm going to give my juniors a quiz tomorrow and ask them what conglomerate means. I'm betting the 2nd graders are going to beat them on that one. As a history teacher, that's fantastic to hear. I mean, the fact that we brought really K through 12 teachers this year is something really different, and it's exciting to hear about. Now, I'm the history guy. I'm going to pass things off to the science lady, Miss Kathy Crater. I was going to talk a little bit about how she's using what she learned in her science classroom.
Thank you very much. I'm at probably the complete opposite end of the spectrum there from our elementary teachers. I teach 11th and 12th graders at the high school. I teach advanced placement chemistry and college prep physics. And in a lot of ways, my students are very much college students. I've taught some college classes, and these students are superior, quite frankly. So my challenge is a little bit different. I'm looking at how I can prepare these students for college and for jobs. One of the things that I was, I guess, overwhelmed by initially at the Model Schools Conference was that our students all day long are using technology from the time they get up till the time they go to bed, and probably 4 times during the night, but they are not allowed to use it once they enter the classroom unless it's something I give them. In my classroom, we have some computers that we use for data collection, and I certainly have a computer, but most technology use in the classroom seems to be by the teacher rather than by the student. And obviously there's a lot of issues there with what we're able to provide for them. So I started looking at what can we do with what we already have. One of the, you can go ahead and go again, I guess. This didn't come out worth anything, but they're told to shut their cell phones off when they come to class. And there are so many times when it is a far more practical use than to not use it. In surveying my AP chemistry students this year, 100% of them have computers at home, 100% of them have internet at home. I believe all of them have cell phones. I think I've seen all of their cell phones. And about 50% of those cell phones are smartphones, meaning they are equipped with internet. I can't provide computers with internet. They have them in their pockets. There are plenty of times when using a cell phone is far quicker. The first example is the one on the left, which didn't come out because, well, I took it with my cell phone. A student's absent from class and they need to copy somebody's notes. They can spend 40 minutes transcribing them. They can go to the library and copy them at 10 cents a page, or they can quickly take a picture of it. Sure, it's better that they were there in class initially, but now if they weren't, so what are we going to do about it? Second case might be I write something on the board that they're supposed to do for homework. If it goes up at the end of class and they're in a rush, in 5 seconds they can walk up to the board, go like that, they have the assignment, they didn't make any transcription errors, they can go home and then worry about the details of it. It's efficient, it's not a huge deal, but they resent the fact that it makes so much sense, but they're not supposed to do it. And I have a real tough time arguing with them that, oh no, you can't just because you can't, when it makes perfect sense too. Another example, in a lab, we need to know what today's air pressure is. How are you going to find that out? I don't know. Oh, I can look it up. You sure can. Go ahead. Excuse me. Another example is sometimes in a lab, I don't tell them what it is they're supposed to be doing. I tell them that, for example, you're supposed to find the molar heat of combustion of wax, and you're going to find the heat of formation of wax. And they see some things around the room. Well, if they want to answer these questions, they need to know what these questions even are. What is the molar heat of combustion? They need to know what I mean by it. But more than that, they need to know what the scientific community means by this. And when they start looking these things up, they find that there's, oh, it's used in this context here, and it's used in this context here. Which of these pertain to what I'm trying to do? She put a candle in front of me. That's made of wax. Candles burned. There's something about combustion here. But they have to start integrating what they have in front of them, what they actually know how to do with what's out there. And I think that that kind of, rather than telling them how to solve the problem, I believe that in the job place, when they're asked to solve a problem, they have to examine a lot more closely what is it I'm trying to solve before they can come up with a path for how to do it. And I think that when they're working in groups of 4 and half of them have this available, it makes so much more sense to use it rather than to not use it. Since I don't have a computer lab full of internet-ready computers for them, we can't afford it, but they already have it there. There's no overhead involved in this. Go ahead. Another thing I realized is we collect data frequently using computers. We have temperature probes and photo gates and all these things that get us really good data, and then they copy it down by hand, and then they make data tables using a ruler and a pencil, and they lose points if it's not really straight. And then they do their calculations, and then they make a graph by hand. They get a piece of graph paper and more rulers and more pencils, and nothing in the job place works like that. And you couldn't turn that in to a college professor and get any credit whatsoever for it. I know how to do these things using Microsoft Office, but they don't. And I can't teach them because in our computer lab, we don't run off Microsoft Office. One of my students, former student who's studying engineering at the University of Michigan, he said to me, we use Google Docs for everything. I said, oh, I have to check this out. And a while later, I'm like, okay, I really should check this out. And I checked it out, and sure enough, it's fantastic. The documents The document program works very much like Word, the spreadsheets work very much like Excel, the presentations work very much like PowerPoint. You can export these things in the PowerPoint format, the Excel format, the Word format, but they're completely free. They're online within Google. You have to pay nothing whatsoever to use them, and everything you do is saved there. And a lot of things in Word that are add-ons, for example, making, you can go ahead and go to the next one. And again. For example, in Word, if you want to write equations, you have to insert an equation, but you better have Microsoft Equation Editor or it doesn't work. Well, in Google Docs, it's already automatically there, so this kind of math type is nearly impossible to have the fractions come out the way they're supposed to in the cube root and everything like that. But that's available for them. So from sitting down with them in the computer lab and teaching them how to do this, they can now create professional type documents that they weren't able to before. Can you go one more? Including graphs rather than doing it by hand. It very quickly comes out on the computer, and if you want to change something, your changes happen quite nicely too. The best feature about the Google Documents that I found is the file sharing abilities. You can simply, in the upper right-hand corner, select Share and select people as either editors or viewers. If you're doing group work, and let's say you have 4 students and they're working on a paper for history, and one of them starts typing and they email it to the next one who does some stuff and emails it to the next one. When you're ready to print that and turn it in, you have to make darn sure that you're turning in the last one that was done, and not something that we did 2 days ago, but so-and-so changed it, but you don't have this copy yet. In here, when somebody logs in to make changes, those changes show up in real time in whatever document everybody sees. So if you have 2 people logged in at the same time, they see those changes instantly. There's no reverting back to an old format, it's there. For something like peer editing, if somebody can go in and view it or modify it, they can just add a comment in the margin. Not necessarily change the body of it, but they can say, this doesn't make any sense, you need to make a modification here. Rather than helping them rewrite it, they can just simply offer some input. And, excuse me, what I've done so far with the class is I've taught them how to make the graphs, make the tables, format the documents. What I intend to do in the future is work more with the file sharing to bring it into group work, and work more with the presentation software to have them, once they've planned something out as a group, now how are you presenting this in the classroom format? And what I am relieved here is that none of this costs anything to them that they haven't already spent, or to me, or to the schools. It's all things that are already in place or are free. And I think that in this current situation, that's pretty much as much as